Hello and welcome to the first Big Ol' Review. On my streams for the last few months, we've been working our way through the Tomb Raider series, originally released in 1996. Old games have a very special place in my heart, and Tomb Raider has wormed its way into being one of my top favorite series of all time. I was gonna wait until I finished 1 through 6 to make a video because I wanted to review all of them at once, but I've come across some information that is very, very interesting and deserves a video all on its own. Today we're going to talk about the development of Tomb Raider 4, the game with hatred woven into its code. Tomb Raider: The Last Revelation is the fourth game in the series, developed by Core Design and published by Eidos Interactive. It was first released on Microsoft Windows and PlayStation in 1999, and later released on the Sega Dreamcast with graphics and sound enhancements exclusive to the system. By this time, Tomb Raider and its sexy and strong protagonist, Lara Croft, already had gamers in a chokehold. After the first release of the game in 1996, developers didn't miss a beat. A new game was released every year until 2003, with a short break before Tomb Raider Legend released in 2006. From 1996 to 2025, there is a total of over 30 games released under the Tomb Raider name. If you were a gamer in the 90s, you knew that every year you could count on your Tomb Raider game getting released. You know about the platforming and the puzzles that make you question your own intelligence, and our 90s graphics that are cosplayed to this day. But what you might not know is what went on behind the scenes to give you your Lara Croft fix. There were those that wanted to push out the games as fast as possible, taking shortcuts and reusing mechanics and assets, and sexualizing Lara as much as possible, including when she was a child. Then there were those that wanted to take more time in between games to make the levels bigger, expand the mechanics, and keep true to the game's roots. Every year the tension behind those responsible for the Tomb Raider franchise grew, and eventually it hit a boiling point. And that boiling point was Tomb Raider: The Last Revelation. Tomb Raider 4 begins in 1984 with teen Lara and her mentor Werner von Croy. During a raid, von Croy has an accident and is stuck inside the tomb, while Lara is forced to leave him behind. Later, in 1999, Lara unleashes the Egyptian god Set, who possesses von Croy and becomes the villain of the story. Lara must imprison Set once again to prevent an impending apocalypse. Sounds simple, right? Wrong. This game is the most difficult, rage-inducing, soft-locking game that gives you the middle finger the entire way through. And you want to know the best part? It's intentional. Every time you get lost in the tombs, every time you can't figure out a puzzle, every enemy that's invincible, and you have no idea until you've wasted all of your ammo, because the game doesn't tell you anything. All of this was to make the game so difficult that hopefully it would take the gamers more than a year to finish it, so the devs could go to sleep. And as we learned previously, there was a new game released every single year despite the devs' best efforts. And a new game was released after Tomb Raider 4. And the year after that. Every addition to the series was meant to be bigger. It was supposed to house new mechanics, new items, weapons, enemies, boss fights, and puzzles. And if you look into interviews with devs throughout the years, there's mention of the time constraints and the immense pressure they were under for every release, including the first Tomb Raider. Because of these time constraints, levels were left unpolished. Many features were left out. Dev kits for updating to analog sticks instead of the D-pad were never received and never implemented. And graphics improvements were delayed every year. Keep in mind that Tomb Raider, like many games from this time, were built from the ground up with slight nods to the 3D Code from Amiga, a PC brand produced from 1985 to 1994. And every year, the devs fell further behind as their workload grew. Nathan McCree, composer and sound designer at Core from 1993 to 1997, mentioned in a quote, "I saw several people walking out of that building looking very gray from not having slept for 72 hours and feeling rather ill. There were camp beds in various places around the building where people would sleep. Many people were sleeping under their desks or in their chairs, even in a cupboard. I found somebody asleep in a cupboard once." Apart from heavy workloads, there were other things that caused disagreements amongst the team. One of them being Lara's sex appeal, and how marketing began to lean on it heavily. Toby Gard, the creator of Lara Croft's character and initial game concept, is quoted saying this to Gamasutra in 1998. "The idea was to create a female character who was a heroine, you know? Cool, collected, in control, that sort of thing. He wanted Lara to be sophisticated and unattainable. Some of the team felt that an overly sexualized Lara was straying too far from what the game was originally meant to be, but that didn't stop anything. Here, we have a teenage Lara Croft, first introduced in Tomb Raider 4. Here, you can see that child Lara is in pigtails, complete with a crop top showing off cleavage and an unrealistic figure for that of a child. This sexualized version of child Laura was improved in the remastered graphics, which removed the cleavage entirely. However, the old graphics still contain the original problematic character design. You can argue that changing the graphics would stray too far away from the original game, but the fact that the design was changed in the new graphics proves to me that it's inappropriate and everyone knows it. It's 1998, and Tomb Raider 4 is expected to release next year. The team is exhausted and burnt out, and many can sense the franchise going in a negative direction. They want to end it while Tomb Raider and Laura's reputations are still intact. How will they do it? By making the game as difficult as possible and killing off the main protagonist. Yes, Laura canonically dies in Tomb Raider 4. It's very clear that the devs' desperate attempts to end the game and protect the franchise were all in vain. I haven't played the 5th and 6th installments yet, so stay tuned for that. But from what I've seen, the game decides to time jump and tell untold stories of Lara Croft's past. Artifacts that she's found that the game's just never mentioned. Nice try, devs. You almost saved the series. They may not have succeeded in ending the franchise, but what they really outdid themselves with was the difficulty of this game. There were nights I spent streaming this game that were filled with rage, utter disbelief, and defeat. Play this game for yourself, and you'll feel the devs' hatred woven throughout the entire game. Here's a list of ways the game says, fuck you. First of all, every game before 4 featured Laura's mansion, complete with the best character in the entire game, Winston. Her butler, who ever delightfully follows you around at the appropriate distance in case you need some tea. Tomb Raider 4 is the first game that doesn't include this, and man was I disappointed immensely. As for core gameplay, there were a couple things left out or changed completely that downright made the game worse. You're unable to restart levels, so you're forced to rely on your own saves. This causes constant softlocks that may require you to reload hours of gameplay. Another factor to consider is the new level system. Levels are split up into chapters, with loading screens and separate areas. I think that the split loading screens have something to do with being unable to restart levels, but speaking of the loading screens between areas, they are horrible to navigate. I'm assuming the goal was to make the world seem bigger, which it does, but I think it causes more problems than it's worth. What could ever be worth causing softlocks? Let's talk about the boss fights included in Tomb Raider 4, because part of what makes the Tomb Raider games great to me are the incredible boss fights. Most of the bosses that you encounter in Tomb Raider 4 are all immortal, and the game doesn't tell you this, so you'll sit and you'll waste all of your ammo on a boss until you finally realize that you can't kill it. Hopefully you didn't save, or else you lose your ammo permanently. Even the final boss Set is defeated by simply trapping him inside the Great Pyramid, and you don't even need to fire a single shot. I can't express how disappointing this was for me, as the Tomb Raider boss fights are one of my favorite aspects of the entire game. Shout out to the final boss of Tomb Raider 3 and the Dragon's Lair from Tomb Raider 2. Both are incredible examples of what make Tomb Raider bosses great. It's good that you don't need to use a weapon to defeat the bosses in Tomb Raider 4, because there's something off about the weapon physics. Laura seems to have a harder time locking onto enemies, which is the only way to kill them. You don't aim the weapons yourself, apart from the laser sight that can be applied to certain weapons, so you rely fully on this auto lock to damage enemies. I was unable to find exactly what was changed about the weapons physics, but it is noted that they were updated. A glorious weapon that was introduced in Tomb Raider 3 and made an appearance in Tomb Raider 4 is the grenade launcher. This weapon was loads of fun and absolutely shreds. Unfortunately, in Tomb Raider 4, everything good about this weapon is taken away. The grenades are sometimes delayed when they explode, even if the auto-lock function does happen to work. And there are 3 different grenade types: normal, super, and flash. Although the addition of ammo types seemed cool, they are completely unnecessary. The other 2 weapons that have ammo types are the shotgun and the crossbow. I never did figure out what the purpose was for the wide shot ammo of the shotgun. There wasn't any combat that I found that was made easier from using the wide shot ammo, so in my opinion this is a lazy addition to the game. On the surface it seemed like something completely new and revolutionary, but was overall useless. And that's not the only thing lazy in Tomb Raider 4. Kelly Shale, the voice actor for Werner von Croy, voices many other characters in the game, and it's not even hard to tell. Something Tomb Raider 4 does stay true to, compared to all the other games, is finding new weapons. The unfortunate thing about this is that you find the same weapons repeatedly. Obviously, this is to assure that you find the weapons that you need before you progress too far, but the way the game does this is lazy. There were so many times in the game that I worked my butt off to reach to an area on the map that required some serious platforming, only to be rewarded with a gun I already have. This erases every ounce of dopamine that my brain was supposed to receive, and leaves me with nothing. An easy fix to this would be that if you already had the weapon, the drop would be replaced with ammo, health, anything else really. Just something. The amount of bats and other small enemies is astounding, and in my opinion, another lazy addition to the game. 1 second you're killing bats that are best killed with pistols, and then out pops some jackals, which are best killed with other weapons. This causes you to constantly have to open the menu, scroll to a weapon, select the weapon, pull out the weapon. Laura has to do the entire animation for that weapon. This is very time consuming, and honestly you're being punished for playing smart and conserving ammo. Another mechanic I think could have been done better is the sprinting. The movement is smooth, but unless you tell the game to stop sprinting, your movement's extremely hindered. While sprinting, jumping is disabled, firing is disabled, and you will die countless times because you didn't end the sprint properly. Because of this, I feel like this is another useless mechanic that on the surface seems really new and revolutionary, but doesn't actually do anything but kill you and piss you off. Speaking of game design that's meant to kill you and piss you off, there's plenty more. In previous games, there's platforms that are slanted at various degrees. Depending on how slanted the platform is, Laura will either be able to stand on it, or she'll slide right off. In Tomb Raider 4, it's very unclear which platforms she can stand on and which she can't. It's normal to spend hours looking for a way up when a completely random platform is able to be stood upon, while all the others that are identical are not. There's no reason for this other than to ruin your day. Something similar to this is that there's ladders scattered throughout the entire game, with zero indication that they are a ladder. You could see the same game texture 100 times, only to realize that it's possible to grapple onto it in one random spot, when every other place that has that texture, you can't grapple onto. Scattered across the game, there are spots that are designed to kill you, for no reason other than the dev's spite. In one spot, there's a hallway, with a health pack sitting in it, and if you walk up to it and try to pick it up, 2 flamethrowers start to go off. Later on in the level, there's a lever that when flipped, it gives no indication as to what it does. But it does turn the flamethrowers off, allowing you to pick up said health pack. Speaking of health packs, there's no shortage of them in Tomb Raider 4. I remember rocking a blinking HP bar in Tomb Raider 2 and really having to think to conserve my ammo. And Tomb Raider 4 just disregards that entirely, which actually takes away from the game. It takes away some survival aspect of the gameplay that was actually really enjoyable. Now, an item that's unique to Tomb Raider 4 and is given to you at the beginning of the game is a pair of binoculars. So these are relatively useless for the entire game until you randomly need to use them plus the flashlight that is apparently attached to it to be able to see the hieroglyphs necessary to solve a puzzle. If it weren't for people in my chat telling me that this was a thing, I would have never figured it out. I would have just cried. The last and the worst fuck you that this game has to offer is the level titled The City of the Dead. To end this video on a more positive note, I want to mention some things Tomb Raider 4 got right. Despite everything, this game is loved by many, and it's one of the most story-rich Tomb Raider games out there. The save/load system is so much better, making you way less likely to save when you meant to load and to load when you meant to save. And something unique to Tomb Raider 4 that I enjoyed was that you can combine items together, and the laser sight added a sniping aspect to the game that was fun and satisfying. This edition actually added a lot to the game that other editions like ammo types fell short on. And finally, Tomb Raider 4 has the first appearance of ropes, which adds an entirely new movement mechanic to the game that was fun and makes sense. Sure, the ropes can be frustrating, but Tomb Raider wasn't meant to be easy, and I think they fit into the game really nicely. Thanks for watching, and Thomas and I hope to see you next stream. Bye! The save/load system is... Oh my fucking god.